The Crash Course Podcast is brought to you in part by DerbyParts.com, Smashmasters, Derby Parts, and Derby Ink Magazine. Live it, breathe it, be it, Derby Ink. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby Podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, good day. I'm Chris Marquardt. This is the Crash Course Derby Podcast. Joining me in studio, we've got Brian Tompkins. We've also got Josh Decker making the trip up, and Scott Cook from Tuff Stuff Derby Parts could be hanging out with us for the next hour or so. Thanks a lot for joining us. Episode number 10. Can you believe it? We got 10 of these things already. It's crazy. Christmas episode today. We've got Wade Sikkink from DerbyParts.com is going to be on the program. We're also going to be catching up with Scot Wallace from Smashmasters here in about 10-15 minutes. How's everybody's week been? Oh, okay. Sounds good. Brian, you do realize that we're in the presence of greatness here. Not just me. Josh has a state record now. Have you seen this on Facebook yet?
But you did hear what happened, though, right?
What, did he drop it and break one of the tines off?
No. Besides being a okay derby builder and driver, Brett Ray also raises trophy whitetails. And he was telling me he was telling me that he had this whitetail.
Mute his mic already.
It was incredible. And he said all of a sudden it came up missing. And I don't want to add 1 and 1 to equal 2, but the picture I saw looked a lot like the one Decker had in the back of his truck.
You sound so jealous right now.
Not at all, buddy.
It's okay, but yes, I did shoot a record whitetail for New York State, which was fucking awesome for me. I mean, it was pretty cool. I've been hunting for a lot of years and never seen anything that big in the woods. Got it. I got very lucky. It ended up grossing a 173, so it was pretty cool for me.
Now, this is the one you got with the spotlight and a 30-30, right?
No, I got this totally legit with a 12-gauge 870 and a slug. Copper Sabbats.
Yeah. I mean, how excited are you to got that paperwork back, huh?
You don't even know, man.
You're right.
I'm in a record book forever. I mean, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, I'm really into hunting, so I mean, that's really exciting for me. I mean, I'll never get another shot again. I might as well just stop.
You're right.
No, what I should do is just now I need to get a pistol and just start shooting with pistol only. That's going to be my next. I'm just shooting with a pistol.
Okay.
Wow. Hey, one thing I do want to do, I didn't do last week and I meant to, but I had some stuff going on before I got here. It's a little late, but I'd like to wish all our active, retired, and military, thank you for keeping us free so we can enjoy Thanksgiving. We appreciate it. You
hit them on Veterans Day too. You didn't forget them.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the military.
So why don't you ever drive a camouflage car?
Because there's a really big guy that lives a couple miles up the road from me that drives a camouflage car, and he might not get mad, but then again he might get mad, and I don't want to get him mad.
And then you're not going to be able to get any cars anymore.
Oh, I've only got a couple off him.
Who's that?
Kyle Collinsworth.
Oh.
He's the guy that runs Waterloo.
Gotcha.
Oversees Seneca County Fair. He's been doing that he's probably been doing that for
5 years now? 6?
No, longer than that. I bet you it's probably close to 12.
No.
Yeah, because he was running it. He took over right about the same time I started announcing there.
No, it hasn't been that long.
You don't think so?
I would hate to argue with the Derby Rain Man, but
yeah, it's true.
But it happens sometimes.
I wish I knew as much about computers as I know about derby cars.
I thought you did until you started telling me about your computer problems the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God, it was bad.
Hey, we're calling out to any of our fans out there. If anybody is a computer wizard, Chris Marquardt is looking for some help.
Or a grenade expert, because that would help fix this mess too. Just pull the pin.
Well,
let it go.
Some crazy stuff happens.
We got Scott Cook here in studio. Scott runs Tuff Stuff Derby Parts, and he has pretty much anything that you could ever want or need that you can find on the internet in terms of the bolt-on, add-on stuff that we've seen become more and more popular here as the derby landscape continues to trend towards some of the heavier builds and stuff along those lines. And all of it's made right here within New York, which is really cool. You don't have to go to the Midwest to find all that stuff. And I'd like to just kind of welcome Scott to the show and just first tell us. It's kind of obvious why, but tell us why you ended up getting involved with making the parts the way that you do.
Well, let's put it. I was buying them actually when I first started out, and I was like, I could build this myself.
Right.
So I started making battery boxes, and right from there it escalated up to right on the line of what you see in my products on the website. or the Facebook page.
And the Facebook page is Tuff Stuff Derby Parts. You can go there and you can find pretty much anything that you could want on there. The slider drive shaft has become real popular. That's new this year.
Correct.
And then you've also got the, I don't know what you call it. It serves as a radiator, but it's far more industrial than the typical radiator would be.
Correct.
That's new, and that has certainly generated a lot of buzz. Tell us a little bit about that and developing those new items.
I've had a lot of guys ask me about the rata barrels. I was like, yeah, I'm not too keen on it, because I've heard a lot. They expand, they'll blow up on you, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, let me come up with something. I'll think about, maybe we can do something like a radiator type thing. So I started drawing stuff out on paper, and lo and behold, came up with the radiators. And a radiator, et cetera, or whatever you want to call it. It's serves as a radiator, but it's not a rata barrel. It's got a pressure relief on it. Cap.
That's nice.
That's actually where I was going next. Was you see some of these guys that have run some of these different innovations. We had a car at Blizzard Bash. A guy had run. We can't say for sure, but it sure looked like he had the radiator inside the car with him. There's other guys that have put these giant water barrels on the roof of the car, and they've got the hoses going down and back. When you go to that rata barrel setup, Brett had one explode on him, and it soaked him in boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
Was it trial and error that led to the pressure relief that's on there?
Definitely.
Or
yes.
is it? Or did you have one on yours initially on the initial prototype?
I initially made one with a pressure relief.
Swing that mic in. Some of the guys on live chat. There you go.
Initially, the
Perfect.
first one I made always had a pressure relief valve on it. It's pretty much common sense. You're going to build pressure on your motor regardless. You get your caps. That cap's I got two different style caps. You can use a regular radiator cap, or you can use the regular screw-on cap. Preferably, my choice, I'd rather use the screw-on cap. I'm not blowing a radiator cap off into the woods somewhere or whatnot. But yeah, it serves its purpose. The expanded metal, as well as hooked to the tubes as well. Run your airflow in it, gives you a little bit more, how do I want to put it, cooling capabilities on the radiator. So
it's serving its purpose. And when you set out to start Tuff Stuff, was your plan simply just to make affordable parts for the guys in New York? Because now you've got to a point where you've sent stuff as far west as California. You're all over the country, just as big as any of the other vendors. The difference being that you're making everything yourself instead of having to go here for your slider, here for your brace, here for your cradle, stuff like that. You make it all.
Initially, I wasn't planning on getting as big as it's gotten. It's just been the last couple of months has been record sales. It's been crazy. It's gotten to the point where I need to expand. I need to actually hire in help.
Wow,
too much for one guy right now. So
That's awesome.
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely a good problem to have.
Yeah, but you don't do this full time yet.
No, I've actually got a 40-hour job that I actually regular 40-hour week job. Then the other 40 to 50 hours in the derby parts.
And you don't bother sleeping anymore. You just pretty much forego that. It's just not necessary. Because seriously, if you follow Scott on Facebook, it's 3:45 in the morning. He's doing a selfie of himself with his welding mask on and stuff like that.
Yep.
And you're not really sure if that's after he's gone to bed or before. But either way, you know that there's not a lot of sleep time on either side of that.
That might be in between a couple hours that I've gotten, but usually I come home, take a shower, good night, hon, going to bed. And I'm very thankful that I've got the woman that I've got. She's great. She puts up with what I do, and summer months I'm never home.
Right.
Never.
What's the feedback been? We've got Steve Buckton with SB Motorsports Announcing. He keeps an eye on the live chat for us and kind of feeds us questions and things. And he's already got a couple brewing. The one that's been the most popular is, have you had any feedback on the legality of your radiator? And then beyond that, any feedback from local promoters or any of the big shows?
I have not heard anything yet. Of course, I just started putting them out there. So I mean, I've sold quite a few so far. I haven't heard anything coming back to me yet on them. So my experience with them, I've never had any problems with them. I mean, your motor's going to get hot regardless. I mean, you're not going to keep a derby motor per se running the way they run under 100 degrees or whatnot. So it's just
It was interesting. Sean Gokenar said that his engine was running right around 155 on alcohol. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's great.
It's not, it's not
All you got to do is build an alcohol motor. You can run it cool.
Yep.
You know,
yep.
that's
You
a
can't bring
different
that
set of
to
problems.
Cuba though. Yeah. Build that alky motor and you can leave it right at home.
Right. Yeah.
But you run with a group of guys, the Power Team. Some of the folks in Malone have heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie St. Mary, Matt Zira, some of the major players with them. Tom Pickering, he's junked pretty much everything that's had wheels this summer. How much R&D do those guys do for you? I mean, is there some advantages of being on the Power Team with Scott Cook and getting some stuff sent your way that's R&D versions?
I pretty much try to sponsor the whole team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I get on that team?
I was just thinking of throwing my hat in the ring.
You're gonna paint your car black with white stripes?
Absolutely.
That's what it takes.
I mean, the guys, when we first started out, Jamie, of course, he was 100% into it. He was buying stuff from me left and right. And I was like, you know what, guys? If I can get it to you, we'll put it in the car.
And when he says, and when Scott says, if we can get it to you, we'll put it in a car, he's not joking. If you can get it to them, they will get it in a car, because in Malone, Franklin County is pre-registration only.
Correct.
There's a waiting list of 25 cars each night. There are 110 cars in competition with another wait list of 20 to get in.
Nice.
30% of them are black and white.
Yeah, I think we had pretty close to 20, 25 cars this year.
Yeah,
out there, so.
that's no joke, and every one of them was outfitted, and every one of them was there to drive, and it's not a team derby up there at the Franklin County Fair, but it sure looks like it, and nobody hides it. There's the red team is the Stockholm boys, and the orange team is the good old boys, and the black and white team is the Power Team, and then I think it's black and yellow is the extreme team, and then there's a red and black team that has been there off and on, and then in the compact division they got a whole other group of players with the blue and yellow guys. They don't make it a secret. Now, it's not a team derby, but you know, all bets are off. If your car's not one of those colors, you are a target.
Nice.
Well,
Sounds like fun.
sometimes you're still a target, though.
Well, on Saturday night up there, the Tuff Stuff equipment was put to the test because everybody else opted to not participate in the feature the first night. So it was only 6 or 7 cars out there, and they were all Power Team cars. Jody Ashline was out there. There was a Plymouth wagon that was out there. Scott was out there. Jamie was out, and everything went home in a ball. Everything was completely junk.
Yeah,
they put on a show, you know, and that was good to see. You know, absolutely. You get a situation like that's not necessarily the best, and those fans still paid to see a show, and they certainly got one. Another question coming in from the live chat: are you increasing your selection of Ford products, and what can we expect?
I am right now looking to. I'm starting shifters right now. Down the line, probably you'll see a lot more Ford stuff coming out of from me. So,
is there a lot of demand for that around here, or is there still a healthy dose of old iron?
I don't have a huge demand for it in the New York area. A couple guys maybe, but around the world, I guess I want to say is they're constantly asking for it.
Aside of California, where's the most surprising place you've had to put a stamp on? A box bound for.
I got a lot of stuff in. You're saying where I've
where've you sent stuff?
Utah, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Got some stuff a lot of stuff in Iowa. Some stuff in Pennsylvania.
Nothing to Alaska yet.
Nothing to Alaska yet.
No. They have a big derby there in Fairbanks.
Yeah,
and
Wade was
talking about that. So, I mean,
wasn't
it's a matter of time.
Where the kid that was using the service was in Alaska and came home in time to build.
Yeah, it was. Yep. Yeah, there was a guy that was overseas that he
ordered a bunch of parts.
Ordered
and said, hey,
a
this is what
huge stuff, and
this
said
is what
just
I'm
drop
gonna
it
be
at my
home,
house.
and I'm going to build and run.
And
Stories
he
like
went
that
up there.
are great.
He went up there and he ran in Fairbanks.
You know, a couple days ago, I'm part of the Northern California page there on Facebook, and they were looking for some new.
You look like you belong.
Yeah, no, I do look like a surfer dude. Yeah. So, but
Got a lot in common with them guys.
be quiet over there. So I went on there because they were looking for some new vendors. So I decided, you know, Scott obviously is a great guy to get hooked up with those guys. So I put it on there. Boom! Immediately, all these guys start posting all the stuff they already bought from Scott. I couldn't believe it. I was amazed by it. I'm like, what? All these guys they already knew him. I thought that was real neat.
The next issue of Derby Inc. got covered from California. Jill Lancaster did a bunch of photographs from one of their events out there. Does a whole recap and everything. It's kind of neat. I mean, to see that much crossover from where we are and what's going on out there.
You know what's real interesting is listening to that group and reading through their Facebook page. They're having the same arguments that we're having way over here. And it's interesting how in the middle of the country, it seems like they've progressed the most, but way out on the ends, we're kind of at the same. I think California is actually building virtually the same kind of stuff that we are. They're just starting to get into VIX a lot and that kind of stuff. But it was kind of neat to hear that.
We got to get Troy Tagg on the show. He's already said that he's going to come and at some point and come on the program and talk to him about running derbies in California, because with all the emissions rules, can you actually run a fun derby, or if you got to?
Yeah, I never even thought about that. Because everything, like you look back at the older stuff.
Well, it's because you and I are different, Brian.
But I heard you say that, but I've looked at the pictures, and I don't know what you guys are saying by the pictures. I mean, their motors look the same, the stacks are the same. What are you guys saying that they can't do?
I'm
just thinking with the emissions. I mean, they've got all these different restrictions.
Everything's different in California.
You got to run a different lawnmower engine in California.
It doesn't look like that from their pictures. It looks, and I'd like them to call in. Actually, I'd like them to call in and let us know about that. But from the pictures, it looks like they're running the same as us, except for all their stuff is crystal clean, spotless iron.
Faded and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. The year we went out and watched Metal Mayhem, we drove from here to Illinois and got to our motel. And we stopped and got something to eat on the way to the track. And we're sitting there talking, and there was two older gentlemen sitting next to us. So we start talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, we're here for the Derby too." And we're like, "Oh, that's cool. Where are you from?" They're like, "California." We're like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, our kids and family, they started like 2 days ago with a tractor trailer and drove 48 hours straight to Metal Mayhem with a tractor trailer load of stuff."
That
and
really
then
is
those
cool.
guys just tore stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. I mean, that's the first time that I'd met anybody from that far out. Obviously in the Derby and stuff, but it was neat, man. I mean, we talked to them for a little while. They were really cool. It was a good time.
I love how the sport. Maybe it's just me seeing it, but it seems like there's guys going from all different across the country now. Guys are derbying against each other, want to derby against each other, and it's so neat to see.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's gone from like most of us wouldn't go to a different county fair, and now these guys are going, 20 hours with 3-car hauler and the family, and I mean, how cool is that? I mean, our sport is really evolving right now.
That's what you're doing this summer, right? You're taking the family in a 3-car hauler to Vermont.
If I had a
Massachusetts.
No, I'm going to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But we don't have a 3-car hauler.
Well, you'll have one by then. I mean, I'm sure you'll talk the company right into buying one for delivering parts.
Oh,
or
for
something.
Pete's sake! Don't do this. Don't go that route.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
do that. Joining us on the line from Smashmasters, we've got Scot Wallace, another guy who's been moving an awful lot of derby parts out of his headquarters in Mooresville, Pennsylvania. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing okay. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on down there. I mean, you've sort of been one of the players that introduced all these aftermarket bolt-on parts here a couple of years back, and your shows allow a lot of that stuff to be used. Josh was just making a joke about the 3-car hauler. You've got the inspection ramp that they were using down at the Hartford Fair, which is sort of your
that was a fun project over the summer.
That's sort of your flagship show. Tell us a little bit about it.
What we got going on down here is I'm taking a little bit of time off right now. I'm trying to get the rules and stuff finished up for this year up in Hartford, and sort of sitting back and spending some time with my family. They've been very, very generous with their time with me, giving me some time away from home and stuff, working on the trailer and going to shows, and they're really understanding about all that stuff. So I'm trying to give back a little bit, holidays and stuff like that. So that's what I've got going on. As far as parts and stuff like that, we got. I'll have the typical stuff up at Brett's Banquet. I'll have a couple of sliders and some headers and tires and some rims and centers and things like that. I'm also going to be starting to carry some more of Matt Uneco stuff from Damaged Derby Parts. Those of you who were at Brookville and Hartford this year got to see some of that stuff, but I'll be carrying some of his brake pedals and possibly his fuel or his gas pedal setups, and I'm going to be looking into some aluminum fuel tanks here as well. Phasing out a little bit of some of the things that I used to carry, just trying to catch up with some stuff that guys might be looking for here in the future.
What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you in terms of trying to get an order put in so that they can pick up their stuff at the Derby Party in Owego?
The best way is to just flat out give me a call or shoot me a text message, 610-781-7931. I'm sure there may be something on Facebook somewhere. I don't really do a whole lot of that stuff. I know I know I'm on there somewhere, but usually lost in the mix. But I'm pretty easy to find. If you look me up anywhere online, my phone number's floating around somewhere. Anything to do with Hartford or Brookville from last year and years prior, my number's around for that.
Any changes coming from over for the rules and guidelines from Hartford this year?
We got a couple things that are getting looked at. One of the big things is we're softening up the transmission mounting a little bit. I still want guys to be able to use the parts and pieces that they've acquired, built, purchased, stole, however they got it over the past couple of years. Some of the aftermarket parts, bell housings, tranny braces, and shifters and things like that. I don't want to take that stuff out of the mix, but we had a couple of really hard cars there last year, both shows. There were probably 8 or 10 cars at Hartford that were built very closely. That all could have been really hard. There were a couple that stood out, and I don't want to have cars that don't bend particularly. I want everybody to go home with junk, and I want everybody to feel like they're on a level playing field. I certainly don't want anyone to think that they're not going to be able to compete, because of technology. And, you get some guys that, especially after the third year of us being up there, we had some guys that paid their dues. They put their time in building cars and call with questions and get pretty specific sometimes. And, it makes for a really good show, and some of the guys are really putting a lot of effort out there. So we have to put out a lot of effort on our end as well, trying to make things, bring things back down to where I'd like to see that Class B and where I think a lot of the drivers would like to see it. Hopefully I'm right on that one, about where I think the drivers want it to be.
How difficult is it to write a rule book, given that you, in the past, you've sold parts to a lot of these guys, you know what they've got in their garages and in their cars? Is it difficult to write a rule book that will or won't move into or away from that class of car that allows those bolt-on parts?
Oh, it's definitely challenging. One of the things, I've had some people already texting, calling with questions, for next year. And one thing that I do ask most of the time is that if it's something specific or something that's a little bit off the wall, just please hang on to that and keep it under your hat. Because the one thing that I really don't want anyone to ever think is that I'm writing something for or against anyone. I try to look at things very neutrally, and sometimes it gets really difficult for some people. I use kind of like a system of, I've got some friends, acquaintances all over the country, and I use a system where I send some rules out to people, or I'll just send sections of rules out to certain people and just kind of ask them what they think and, how they could beat it. And then I sit there and I reread the stuff about 1,700 times and see how I could beat it. The best part about that is the first time that we did Hartford, 3 weeks before the show, I was reading through, because someone had asked me a question, and I was reading through trying to figure out how to tell them yes, because it was definitely a no answer. And I found something that I did that I would have been able to really, beat the system on if I were a builder. Fortunately, nobody else found it that year, and we were able to make a small, 2-word change and get that squared away for the following year. But it's challenging to try to keep things readable, keep things that they're under 10 pages, and not offend anybody, and to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with what else is going on, the new technology, the old technology, people who are tired of building, people who want to build more. It's a pretty tricky balance.
Scott, Josh Decker here.
Yeah.
I've been running your shows for the last couple of years. I have a great time every time. I love Hartford. It's great. All around is great. My question to you is, and I'm going to bring up Pete here because I think everyone just wants to kind of hear your thought on that.
That's Pete Hansen, the guy that won.
Yes, Pete Hansen
Pete
built just a. Yeah,
just kidding.
Pete built an awesome car. It really was a work of art to look at it. When it showed up in the inspection line, was that what you were expecting cars to be built like, or by looking at Pete's, were you saying like, man, this guy really thought through my rules and picked me kind of apart? Could you let us know, what were you thinking when you saw that? Because when I looked at it, I was just like mesmerized. I really was. What were you thinking when you looked at that thing?
Actually, I thought that's a really good question. I thought it was a really well-built car. Pete had called and asked a bunch of questions. We talked a lot about some things, and he definitely found some areas in the rules that were on the difficult side for us to do anything except say, hey, man, nice job. Right. But in reality, 3 years ago when this was all put together, that was actually the car pretty close to the car that I expected to see people building. There were some things on there that not everybody saw eye to eye with. There were a few things that needed to be adjusted, and there were a few things that I think some people were surprised that didn't need to be adjusted as well, but they were well within the rules. As far as that car went, I mean, that car went through the inspection prior to the show, and also it was tipped up. It wasn't flipped on its side, but tipped up and was looked at, and the top 5 drivers had the opportunity to look at that. And I can tell you that that's actually one of the changes that we're making in the rules. The way the rules were set up in prior years is that I basically gave the top 5 drivers the opportunity to check the cars and look at them. I was always confident that with a quick look we could kind of see if anybody did anything, looking how cars bent or did not bend, that we'd see a problem area. But this year what we're going to do is we're going to change that a little bit, and the top 5 guys are still going to have the opportunity to look if they ask, but we're going to go right over the top 3. The officials are just going to tip them up and look at everything on our own right out of the gate. I don't want anybody to feel like they need to be singled out, or or feel a little bit weird, or they don't want to ask to see it because of whatever. So we're just going to go right ahead and tip those 3 up and take a look at them there. So, but as far as how his car was built, it was a very well built car. There was a lot of time, a lot of money into it, a lot of thought, a lot of work, and a lot of reworking, and it was a good car. You had a heck of a good car too, considering as I've heard you say previously, you felt like it took I think it was you that said it took a knife to a gunfight, but you actually held your own for what you had.
Thanks, Scott.
And I saw you got some toys out there in Kansas, so hopefully we'll get to see some of that stuff this year on your car.
I got to learn how to use it, though. That's the problem.
We got to learn how to put it on first.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still working on that in the garage.
It's just like shoes. I'm still figuring out how to tie them. They're on, but they're not always tied.
And let me ask this. Sorry, if I could just go one quick more question.
Go ahead.
Do you think, and I'm not trying to cause any controversy, I'm really wondering what you think. Do you think a car that came like Pete's, and I know there were some cars that were close to Pete's, but Pete's really stand out, and everyone was talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. Do you think that car scared some drivers away, or what do you think? Do we think was it good for that Derby, or did it hurt it at all? I'm just wondering your thoughts.
What were the repercussions of Pete's car?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering that.
Well, I don't necessarily have a very strong opinion about that, but it was a highlighted car. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. The reality of it is, if I eat too much garlic and I have really bad breath, I always feel that could change the show. You know what I mean? Sure. If guys don't want to talk to me or hang out or whatever, there's so many different things, and the guys that know me know that I'm a little bit neurotic about worrying about what drivers think about this, about that, and some people think that makes me who I am and keeps me being as neurotic as I am about trying to be fair about rules, keeping things level. And maybe that's true. I hope so, and I hope it ever goes away, because that's the way I always wanted to be officiated. So that's the way we try to officiate. As far as that car, it's just a car. One thing that you're missing is Josh DeBevick built an identical car.
Sure.
But nobody's talking about Josh DeBevick's car because he didn't win.
Exactly. Yeah.
He didn't make it through a heat, had the consi, didn't make it through the consi, went on the trailer.
Yep.
Same car.
Yep.
In the enclosed trailer.
Not to call Josh out or anything, but I mean, it was there.
No, his was great too.
I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't a couple of subtle differences, but the meat of the build was the same.
Yep.
Matt Kilmer's Cadillac was really an amazing build. It was a really good build. He bent where he bent. He was really surprised that he bent there. he and I talked a little bit. I kind of explained why I thought he bent there versus bending where he thought it was going to bend. And it's what it is. I mean, I'm willing to talk to any driver, any of the drivers that are there. Anybody can give me a call afterwards. They can tell me that they hate my guts and that they don't like my show. But if anybody has any questions about anything, I try to make time for everybody. I try to make time for everybody that's there because they've made time for us, if that makes any sense. They put the time into the car, and they've supported the show. And, with dwindling numbers, I mean, all over the place, that's been pretty consistent there for the last 3 years. I would love to be able to, reach inside a magic hat, pull out the answer, and say, what can I do to get, 10, 15 more cars there? I just don't know the answers. I mean, I'm always looking for a little bit of help with that, but the reality of it is I don't think anybody knows the answer to that.
And let me say, too, for anybody that's listening that is looking for a show to go to, I've been running Hartford for about 15 years, but for Scott, I've been running the last 2 years. It is a fantastic show. It's a great arena. The crowd is awesome. I think Scott's a fantastic promoter. The cars are great. It really, if you're going to plan on going to one show a little bit farther away, look at Hartford. Hartford is a great show to go to.
We definitely appreciate that. And, the one thing that I'd really like to add to that is there's no way that I could do it without all of the help that I get. I mean, the guys that come and help tech and, kind of work me through some headaches here and there, because I do try to consult with them here and there when there's something that I don't feel I can wrap my head around correctly to give an answer. I mean, and if I don't, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but there was a driver who called me one day, and I was in the middle of doing about 8 million different things. And he had several different questions, and I could answer the first 3, and the fourth one I said, I'm just going to have to refer back to my rules and get back to you. And he's like, well, what do you mean? You don't know your rules? I'm like, well, I do, but my understanding of my rules, the way I'm thinking it right now, is that I want to tell you no, but I want to try to get back to you with a yes. And he's like, this is bogus. I want to get this done. Long story short, I ended up calling Mark Benjamin up. We talked about it a little bit and came up with basically a happy medium with what it was, called the guy back, and it was only like 20 minutes later, and he's like, well, I thought it was going to be a couple of days. I was like, no, I just needed to check on a couple of things. I'm like, you got to give me a little bit of space here and there. But that guy ended up, he's run several of our shows. He's come back a couple of times, and I even had that guy brought another guy along and actually came down to one of my racetrack shows at the end of the year last year, and I was really surprised to see those guys make that trip. I mean, it was amazing to see them come that far for a couple $100, and they're like, we thought we'd come and hang out for a little bit, see if we could learn something. But it was neat. I mean, and the drivers, the fans, the experience, the fair, everybody up there has been great to work with. And that's why I say we definitely appreciate feedback from somebody like you, Josh, who's been there for a couple of years, and you've seen some stuff, and you've got a lot of other different kinds of derbies that you can compare it to. I mean, you run everything, from basically JM shows. You've run JM shows.
Oh, of course.
And all the way up to, that build. You've been to Cuba, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, winner stock division.
I won a stock
2011.
a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
I'm sorry I wasn't there last year. I apologize for that. It's when you get drivers, a bunch of drivers that have a lot of places to go and they have a lot of choices to make and things like that. It's great to hear that they like what we're doing, and ultimately at the end of the day, we do try to do it for you guys. You guys were talking about that trailer. I actually wish I'd have been able to get on the computer. I was working on dinner with my family there for a few minutes before you guys called, but I'm anxious for the podcast, to hear the podcast, because I was pretty proud of that. The whole build there was, I had somewhere in the neighborhood of 137 hours into that thing in 3 weekends, and that didn't include the many hours of travel time that I had, like 21 hours of travel time. And I can't believe that my wife actually smiled and said, hey, just go finish it. 4th of July weekend. She's like, just go finish it. Well, I didn't get it done. I actually finished it the week of Hartford. I had taken a week's vacation, and I put about 70 hours into it that week. Had a friend of mine come over and follow me with a welder while I was still setting some things up, and another guy did a little bit of paint, a little bit of paint work for me, and it was a process. I mean, I ended up delivering that Thursday night before Hartford, I got up there, 11:30 at night. Didn't leave till about 1:30. Got home, got in bed 4 o'clock. Back up at 7 to pack the enclosed trailer and get up the road. So we try to burn. We try to keep you guys in mind. We're burning some candles on our end of things too. But I was told by some of my officials that I was geographically handicapped, and if I would have been doing it, a little closer to their home, it would have been a little bit better off. And I just said, it is what it is. I certainly appreciated all the help that I got with that. And it just was great.
Hey, Scott, this is Brian. Just real quick, I was just wondering. I know the mod show's kind of been the main topic so far, but you got to be pretty ecstatic with the support you get from the stock guys, for a better name, at Hartford. I went 2 years ago, and they put on an incredible show. And this last year, I heard the show was real good again. But I think you have 2 separate classes that just put on a great show there. You've
agreed.
You got to be really happy with the support you
Scott
get from
ran down there this year
the other
too.
guys too.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. But don't forget the compact guys.
Yeah, they put on a good show also. But I just the stocker or the stock V8 class, they really put on a show the year I was there, and I heard this year was really good also. And I just it's those guys kind of sometimes get forgotten, but I was there, and they put on a great show, and as a promoter, you got to be happy with that also.
Yeah, well, I definitely am, and it's funny you bring up the whole stock class versus and the limited weld thing. I'll see if I can sum this up for you as quickly as I can. I'm going to be 40 in June, so I'm 39 now. The last time that I derbied was May of 2012, and the time prior to that was like 2009. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm an old washed-up derby driver. It's kind of fun to think of it that way. The limited weld class is where my brain is telling me that I need to build there if I were ever going to build. That's where I need to build. But my body says that you need to build for the stock class because your old ass can't handle it anymore.
Exactly.
I like to think that there's a couple other drivers out there like that. Not to mention that, the stocks are kind of near and dear to me. That's like that stock build right now is like a mid-90s build around here.
Yep.
That's what I grew up with, and I think it's a great build, and I truly believe that the guys that have been doing well in that class have a day and a half, 2-3 days at the most into their cars, and it's just great to have a class like that you can go out and have a good time with. Now, that being said, I did listen to one of the podcasts when I was on my way back home from Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. I listened to several of them, but the one was one when you guys were talking about stock cars and stock classes and things like that. And I don't know if I missed it or didn't get it, but Josh, can I fire a question back at you real quick?
Yeah. Oh, sure, of course.
And I know Kilmer was weighing in on it. You were weighing in on it a little bit, but I never really I don't know that I ever caught the answer to it. But in theory, if there were the whole, this year, there was some discussion about driving for the money, driving to win, driving a little bit slower, smart driving, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it bagging. I've been on every side of it you can possibly imagine. Sometimes you think you're doing good and you just suck. That's usually how I drove. I was kind of a light foot, like Brian. But anyway, what I want to know is if you were to run a stock show, let's just say, for instance, that the purses were reversed for those 2 classes. Would it change what you did and how you drove?
Brett and I had that whole conversation on the way home, and me personally, I would still bag that show. And I know people would say, no, with a stock car, you'd go out there and run it harder, but not me personally. I would not. I'd actually slow her down, even maybe some more, Scott, because I knew in my head, hey,
like me then.
Yeah, well, and you can't go out there and hit. And Kilmer amazes me every time in that stock event. Kilmer goes out there full tracking everybody. And he lasts, and it's impressive. Yeah. But I don't think I could run like that and win. Me personally, I just don't have that luck.
Scott's run there. You've been there before. What's your take on that? What would you end up doing?
I ran there the first time was this year. I ran there. Going in a little gray, didn't know exactly what could be done, what could not be done, et cetera, but I ended up smoking a transmission, and
right.
To go back there, yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going back again.
Scott Cook.
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I was trying to think who it was. I I didn't realize that. I guess I knew you were going to be there, but I didn't realize you were actually going to be there.
Yeah, we're talking about making our Christmas list and what we want and what's out there in terms of
I'd like a 36 by 48 shop.
There you go. See, that's what Scott Wallace wants. Scot Wallace again with Smashmasters on the DerbyParts.com hotline. We've got Wade Sikkink that's kind of waiting in the wings right now. So as much as I hate to do it, Scott, I got to cut you off so that we can get.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I appreciate it.
Happy holidays, everybody.
We'll be talking soon. If you want to get a hold, thanks a lot. If you want to get a hold of the guys at Smashmasters, you can go Smashmasters.com. You can also reach Scott directly at 610-781-7931. Once again, Scott, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
There goes Scot Wallace telling us a little bit more about the Hartford Fair. Talking a little bit now. Scott, by the way, we should probably clarify that Scott is a middleman. He is associated with a lot of the part manufacturers, and then you can go to Smashmaster. You can find that much the way that Wade Sikkink does that out of Firth, Nebraska, and we'll be talking with him here in just a few minutes. Bringing it back to Scott Cook here with Tuff Stuff. Have you been contacted by any of those middlemen, so to say, around the country and interested in carrying some of your parts as an inventory? Or are you still staying on your own and want to stay on your own?
I'm pretty much on my own. I've been contacted by a couple of gentlemen over the summer. I did sell them a few parts. I say a few. They bought gas pedals, especially. They took them around. They were selling them at their local shows, etc. But whatever. I mean, I'm pretty much self-independent.
Do you want to stay that way, or do you want to try and get picked up?
I'm not 100% sure yet where that part of it's going to end up going.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm pretty much want to stay with myself. I get a guy say, "Hey, can you sell me 10 gas pedals? You know, give me a break on it. I want to send them around my shows or whatnot, my local shows." Sure. I mean, I'm not afraid to give somebody a break on something if they're ordering that much stuff.
Quantity.
Right. When you've got that particular setup like you've got the opportunity with this market that you make so much stuff. You don't necessarily need to outsource to other places and carry parts for other vendors. Has anybody approached you about being a vendor, so to say, to put them in touch with anything else, or they just go into you for what you make?
Nobody's come to me asking me to vendor stuff. No. If that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
No.
I'm surprised by that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I want to be surprised by it, but I'm not, because you make so much stuff. I mean, you've got that. You had a picture up on Facebook about the Willwood setup. They had the Willwood decal and the brake setup,
right.
And then you've also got you've got the throttle pedals and stuff. Pretty much everything you need from the cooling system right back up to the driver's seat. You've got it.
Other than the cradles and the distributor protectors and stuff like that, I'm not into that stuff. I probably maybe, but I don't foresee myself getting into that stuff either. So.
How about wheel centers and stuff along those lines? You carry all that stuff too. I know I saw the Hymens as well.
Yep, I can get wheel centers, whatever, 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, whatever size you want. I mean, I've got the capabilities of producing that stuff. It's just the stuff that you see that I've got advertised is the stuff that's in demand per se, is what I want to say right now. A lot of people are asking for that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So as demand changes, your inventory is going to roll over as well?
Correct. Yeah.
It's one of the luxuries of doing it for yourself. You can roll with the punches. You're not going to get left holding on to a bunch of antiquated stuff.
Right.
And can I say to anybody that's especially new guys derbying that are thinking they can't afford parts, really, you need to take a look at his website. I was on there the other day for a while, and what you don't realize is sometimes you buy stuff and it's definitely going to save you money in the long run or save you time.
And Scott's prices are affordable when you look at the whole landscape.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Oh, no, I was looking through there like ready to pull my credit card out because there's a lot of great stuff in there. And again, if you're a guy that runs 1 or 2 shows, it's worth buying it because it saves you time. It saves you energy. It's good quality stuff in there. You can throw it in real quick, and you can work on something else instead of wasting time building a steering column or wasting time building your own gas pedal. Just call him, order one. It comes in the mail. You bolt it up, and you start welding. You know, I just like a lot of the stuff that's on his website.
paying for convenience. That's what it is. I mean, you're paying for convenience, but the thing is these bolt-on parts that you can get from Tuff Stuff or from Derby Parts, those parts are things that, in theory, you're going to be able to use multiple times before they fail or break or whatever.
And most of us are in a time crunch. We all want to build a certain amount of cars or one car, and we're trying to get it done in a crunch time. Well, the fastest way to save yourself some time is to buy some products that are already made. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but it saves me a ton of time. If I weren't buying some of these new products, it takes me a lot longer to build my cars. So if you're a guy that wants to go run 1 or 2 more shows, maybe buy a couple of products that you can build cars a little bit quicker. And again, go on his website. There's things that we haven't even talked about that's on there. There's some good stuff on there.
What's your best seller, Scott?
Right now, the gas pedals have been really huge. I offer 2 different styles. I got the standard and I got the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot being the larger of the 2. Of course, it's a whole inch all the way around bigger. The pedal's a 6-inch pedal versus a 5-inch pedal. The plate's a thicker plate, etc., and just a wider plate altogether. So,
joining us on the hotline with the same name, the DerbyParts.com hotline, is the founder of DerbyParts.com, Wade Sikkink. Wade, welcome back to the Crash Course.
Hey, great to be back, Chris. And Josh, your check for promoting guys buying parts will be in the mail shortly.
I don't want a check. I just need some parts. Just send some parts.
Most guys are. That's right.
That's what about your bestseller? I mean, what are you running in terms of Christmas specials these days?
Well, actually, right now we just started on Thanksgiving. We're running a free shipping promotion for any order over $99. You put in the promo code free ship, and your whole order ships for free. Whether that's if you just hit the $99 mark, or you're buying heavy stuff like cradles or slider drive shafts that normally would be $40 or more bucks to ship. They ship for free. We cover the dime on that until December 15th, and so you got a couple weeks to get those Christmas presents ordered and get them shipped on time so that they'll be there in time to have that slider laying under the Christmas tree.
My birthday's on the 15th, actually, so that's going to work out good. I got to get the credit card out tonight.
There you go.
Buy myself some Christmas presents.
But as far as best sellers for us, one of the biggest things that we sell all year long, and actually we've seen a big bunch of orders come in on the free shipping promotion here in the last few days, is steering stuff. I heard you guys kind of talking about steering columns a little bit ago. Whether it's, we sell a complete column that all you got to do is weld the mounting plate to your dash bar and bolt the thing in, or we sell a kit that's we call a do-it-yourself kit. It's everything you need except the rod, and then you get your own rod and weld it together. We sell lots and lots of steering stuff, whether it's the U-joint knuckles, steering wheels, quick releases, Heim joints, mix and match, whatever your guy needs. That's definitely one of our biggest sellers because it saves you a lot of time. You get it, you just put it in the car, and it works.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of guesswork with that stuff. You've been moving a lot of the steering components as well on the other side of the firewall.
yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the sliding stuff's going. The sliding components are going very well. But I don't offer a whole lot of the knuckles. Usually, I will try to sell it already done and ready to put in. But and I do have a few guys that do buy the knuckles, the quick disconnects, the steering wheels, stuff like that. It's just for them to build their own stuff. It's
Wade, you been able to get any further away than Alaska, or is that still holding the record?
No, that's still holding the record. It's we're still shipping all around the country. I'm still waiting on that elusive Hawaii order, but hasn't come in quite yet. But no, we've been. Things really started picking up here lately. It's late October, early November is kind of our slowest time of the year. Derby season's pretty well wound down. There's not a lot of shows going on. Everybody's kind of takes a breather. Then the last couple of years we run this free shipping promotion, and that always kind of picks business up pretty good. And so things have picked up good, and we're shipping a lot of stuff around. We just shipped a whole bunch of parts out to Ohio. They're going to go out in that Bash for Cash raffle car. We sponsored that show the last couple of years. So I just sent Russ an email last night and said, hey, your truckload of parts is on the way, so they'll get them all dropped in that car. They're doing a wagon this year, so that should be kind of fun to watch.
That's awesome.
But no, it's business has picked up well here.
We actually have a first. Someone who is listening to the show live just contacted us through the Facebook page and wants to know. It's a guy up over the border. His name's Hector. Hope I don't butcher his name. Hector Deredick. He's wondering from both Tuff Stuff Derby Products and from DerbyParts.com, what's the policy with shipping to Canada?
I can start on that. We this last year in the spring started getting phone calls about guys saying, "Hey, I wanted parts, but I'm in Canada." So we went and did some work on figuring it out, and we shipped a lot of product into Canada this year. We shipped stuff into Alberta, into Manitoba, Quebec, just lots and lots of stuff. Actually, I got a big order going to British Columbia on Wednesday. It'll ship. So we ship to Canada. We love it. Our neighbors to the north of us love to Derby too, so we want to make sure they can get the stuff. And so the only thing is the website doesn't calculate the import duties correctly, so you just got to give us a call. So if you call in on the phone line, we'll just take your order over the phone, get it all squared away, and you'll have your parts pretty quick. Last guy a little while ago had ordered a gas pedal, shipped it to Edmonton, and he got it in 10 days, and he said he was amazed by how fast it got there. So, sometimes it doesn't get hung up too bad at the border. But, yeah, we love shipping to Canada.
Is it tough, Scott? I mean, for you?
It could be crazy for time-wise stuff. I mean, if a guy calls, he wants something, I need it in a week. I can't promise a week. I mean, it's...
Is it quicker for you to deliver it yourself?
It probably would be.
Throw it across the border.
But yeah, I mean, my stuff is all the shipping price and everything's all included. You get the free shipping, but of course, I can't ship to Canada free because they're outrageous in their numbers to get stuff across the border. So I mean,
just got to buy yourself an airboat. I know some guys that go back and forth across the border on those for races. Get there a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yep.
What else has been a hot seller this season, Wade?
Like the steering stuff, a lot of interest in the bell housing this year. We carry the Narrant steel bell housing, and there was kind of a supply crunch on those kind of late in the season, and we were out of stock of them for a while. A lot of guys really interested in that. We got them back in stock now. I just got a big shipment from Brian here a couple weeks ago. So I've got 10 or 12 of them sitting down in the shop right now. Plus, we've been selling actually quite a few of the JW Performance Ultra Bells too. So that's it's a little bit different product. It was designed for drag racing, but it's designed for high torque environment. So bell housings and training components have been a good seller too. We want to take a look at maybe bringing some more of Narrant's product line on this year that are related to trannies with bracing and tail shafts and some of those kind of things. The other thing we've been working on is a couple of new products. I'll kind of plug them, preview them here just for the first time. This hasn't been announced anywhere yet, but the first one, I know the room's probably full of Mopar guys, so you guys aren't as excited about it as you might otherwise be, but we'll be testing an LS cradle this winter. LS engines have kind of made a big come on the scene, and we sold a decent amount of parts for LS stuff last year. But a cradle has been kind of one of those things that's hard to find, hard to get. Small block Chevy cradles are everywhere. LS cradles, there's only about one or two people that make them in any kind of meaningful way. So we've developed one here over the winter. We've got it built up. We shipped it to a driver here a week ago. It's going to be run here in January. We'll get another run on it, hopefully in February, and hopefully like what we see and be ready to let that go to the market in the spring. The other one is a brake pedal. We used to carry a brake pedal a couple years ago. Did pretty well with them, but kind of that relationship with that supplier ended. So we developed a new design for a dash-mounted brake pedal. It's going to get run in a car, actually two cars, at the Redneck Rumble in Sturgis, Kentucky at the end of the month in January, end of January. And then we'll probably pick up another couple runs after that, and then we'll be good to go on that one too. So a couple of new products that are coming down the pipe for us. Should be pretty fun to see those new products get a run on them and get to crawl all over the cars and check them out when they're done. And make sure they're ready to go.
Well, Wade, again, we appreciate you making some time and hanging out with us here. We're just about out of time. We got about 5 minutes left. We appreciate it. DerbyParts.com. Make sure you get on there, check them out, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, maybe we'll see you in February in Minnesota. We'll see.
We're hoping so.
We hope so.
Thanks a lot.
All right, see you.
Yeah, bye now. Scott, have you done anything with the bell housings yet?
No, I'm not.
I just
No?
broke the mic.
What did you do over
I
there?
swear I broke it.
What did you do to the microphone? Just leave it alone. Stop touching it. Give it to the parts maker over there.
Yeah.
Let him worry about it.
Let
It's
the
in
guy-
able hands.
Fabricate that.
Let the fabricator take care of it.
No bell housings.
Are you going to get into that? No, not even going to
I
bother?
don't think so. No.
No. And then, we already talked about the breaks and stuff like that. Have you got any special promotions or anything that you're doing for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday,
Black
Christmas
Fri-
push stuff?
My Black Friday sale was out of this world.
Really?
Crazy. I offered $25 off everything on the list. And the stuff just came in like crazy. And then, I'm sorry, that was before Black Friday. It was a week before. My Black Friday sale was 15% off. That was right straight through till tonight, actually. So
You got time, Decker. Get on.
Yeah.
Get what you need,
What do
buddy.
you got in the truck? What do you got out back in the truck?
He's not joking.
No, actually, really, what do you got in the truck? I got cash.
He's looking for some steering components because he owes Brett for the ones in the Cadillac that he destroyed.
Now we fixed that kind of.
Like you did the microphone over there?
Yeah, this I definitely broke.
Yeah. Thank you. That's
Great.
That's good of you.
You know, we had some good stuff today. I mean, I'd like to have Scot Wallace on again sometime. He actually had some good points and questions there. I would have liked to hear what else he had to say.
Did you unhook that thing?
No, we didn't unhook it.
let's just go to mind of its own.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Dude, yeah, talking to that part of it now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We'll worry about the rest in a minute. Yeah, Scott had a lot of good stuff going on with Hartford and talking about that. And again, he's sort of in the same situation as Wade is, being somebody where you can one-stop shop. You can go to one place and you can find all the different name vendors in essence in one spot. Wade and Smashmasters, DerbyParts.com and Smashmasters are both very tight with Near It. The difference being Scott with Tuff Stuff, another place where you can go one-stop shop and get everything you need. Difference being that it's built locally. It's someplace where you can see it get run, and also the price is different because Scott made it himself. He didn't have to sell it to somebody else and then let that guy resell it as well.
And I try to look out for the backyard mechanic type guys, that don't have, their wallets aren't as big as Citizens Bank per se. It's I try to. That was my main goal, was trying to get out and get this stuff out to guys that it's affordable to them guys, where they can, try to compete to a certain level of the competition.
Have you got drivers at least at the Malone Show, Franklin County, who have now moved up and begun running some of that aftermarket bolt-on stuff that probably wouldn't have done it otherwise had they not been able to see the parts in action?
Yes, I do. Quite a few guys in Malone, Franklin County.
And the orange cars?
Stuff. Orange cars have got my stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jamie Dustin.
Absolutely, because when he goes out and breaks it, that's just job security. You sell it, you break it on them, they got to buy more. That's a perfect world in the derby.
Scott backs up when he sees an orange car sideways. He goes, "I'm about to make a sale."
The only thing is I got to compete against my own stuff. So I mean, which is good in the long run of things. So it all works out for everybody.
Can't go wrong. Sales everywhere. Get online. Check out. It's TuffStuffDerbyParts.com and then Tuff Stuff Derby Parts on Facebook, DerbyParts.com, Smashmasters.com, Smashmasters1@yahoo.com. Scott Cook's on Facebook. Tons of different ways to get a hold of him if you just follow the links. We're just about out of time. I know we've got a whole bunch of action coming up here in a little bit on Finger Lakes 1. The sauce is coming out at 9 o'clock, so we got to get out of the way for them so they can get all their stuff put together. Guys, appreciate you making the drive up. I know it wasn't a jump across the park for you to come here, and it was part of getting that car picked up, so that worked out good. I'm glad you could make the drive, Scott, and hopefully you had a good time, enjoyed yourself.
Absolutely great.
You're welcome anytime that you want to make the drive in from Waterford. It's only 2 hours, 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours. That's all. Nothing.
Yeah, we'll get together.
Farthest drive in from our guest so far.
Hit from him?
I think so, because Buell only had, what, 2.5?
Like 220 for Buell.
Yeah. Buell should have slowed his pace down.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have drove so hard. We tell him that all the time.
Mine's about 9 minutes. How about you?
Yeah, I know. Mine's 7. Mine's
I got 2 hours every time.
Nice. Good for you guys.
But you never say no.
I know.
You never say no.
You know me.
John King wrote me. He said he's not going to follow you to Minnesota for another autograph. For Josh Decker, Scott Cook, Brian Tompkins, it's 7 o'clock. That's going to do it for this edition of the Crash Course Derby podcast. We're going to be back here next week. Don't really foresee any time off coming up in the near future. We do have a programming note on the 23rd. It is going to be the Manshaki program. The week after that, we are trying to put together an IDDA retrospective special. So if anybody has any ties to the IDDA, get a hold of us through Facebook. That's www.facebook.com/Crash Course Podcast. Jump online if you want to listen to it, podcast.fingerlakes1.com/The Crash Course. Appreciate it. We'll see you back here next week.